at the beginning with the majority of the guys in this Gold Cup.
Janusz, the defensive line was constantly under pressure, whether it was Mexico or the final minutes versus Guatemala or Costa Rica. What have you seen from this U.S. men's national team back line?
Well, I mean, I think the part of me thinks, of course, that there's going to be a different team when we see them in the World Cup.
There's going to be a significantly different team.
It's going to be a significantly team. My worry is always.
I mean, these were your two center backs that you're probably going to have in the World Cup.
Yeah, but I think Anthony Robinson will make a difference, and if we see Serginho Dest come back to the form that we've seen, I think that that helps us as well, of course, and the protection of the back line could be different, of course, with Weston McKennie, whoever's going to get Tyler, and I think he's going to be benefit from that. Just the communication and know-how and knowing the players around. So that's going to be a change. My worry is with the goalkeepers. The good news is that everyone's in the game still. I mean,
well, that's good for them. That's not good for us.
Yeah, it's not good for us because we continue to be a massive underdog going into these big tournaments. And any team, and we're not the only one, any team that's in that position at the very least has to have a decent goalkeeper, right? And we've seen that in our times with you, Tony, and Brad, and of course Tim Howard showed that against Belgium. So you have to have that. We don't. So that's a massive negative. But the biggest worry overall right now from this tournament here is that we are going to the World Cup next summer, and we're hosts of this tournament. And Mauricio Pochettino is going blind into that tournament. He's going absolutely blind.
Whose fault is that?
I don't think I'm going to put it on him. The fault.
I think some of it has to be on him, though.
Some of it, but not everything.
100%.
FIFA part of it because they created a tournament that shouldn't be here at this particular time, right? Where a lot of the players couldn't be here, not just for.
You're talking about the Club World Cup.
Yeah. Club World Cup, of course. We had players that chose to have surgeries because they had to have it. We had players that chose not to play because to them, it wasn't that important, right? They just figured that they need rest. Leave it, think of it all of what you want. But as I said, 40 days. 40 days. I mean, that's a massive amount of time with the national team. That new coach, because this is not a coach that's been here for one cycle or two cycles. This is a brand new coach.
Well, he's been here for 10 months.
Well,
I mean,
but you know what I mean. I'm saying.
I'm not saying you react pretty quickly
how many,
with Mauricio Pochettino. He's got some blame. Why do you feel he's got some blame there?
Well, because
and how much blame?
What I haven't seen from Pochettino is a full commitment to the national team. I haven't seen a full commitment to the players. I haven't seen a full commitment to going and watching matches and truly being the guy to find out all those questions. Frank Leboeuf said on FC early on, he said, I think it's going to be a tough task for him because he doesn't know any of the U.S. players. So, fair enough.
That was my point.
He doesn't know them. So then you have to absolutely just dive in head first. And we haven't seen that. We've seen him doing a lot of other things, but we haven't seen him truly being represented. You hear players talking. Have you spoke with Pochettino? No, he's never called me. I've not talked to him. I don't know where I stand. I don't know. And to me, that's fine if you're a club coach. Because a club coach, if somebody in the end doesn't buy into what you're saying, you can just go buy somebody else. But as a national team coach, you only have what you have. If they've got a passport, great. And it's clearly we have 5 or 6 players that are at one level. We've got another 5 or 6 players that are kind of not quite to that level, but right around there. And then we've got a squad. Those 10, 12 players, as a national team manager, they have to be on board. They have to be 100% bought in. And it sure doesn't look that way from the outside.
I've been very critical of Mauricio Pochettino, his time spent and the optics of how he spends that time. You call him 15 Major League Soccer players out of a team with 26 spots, and I've not seen him in one stadium. I've not heard about the dual national recruitment.
The only thing I've heard is he's been to Atlanta because he was there with U.S. Soccer.
Right, Como U.S. Soccer.
But to your point, Herc, I heard friends in Seattle say, oh, they've been told they're going to come and they're going to meet and they're going to talk, and nobody showed up.
I think the optics matter here. And what I've seen from Mauricio Pochettino hasn't really left me overly impressed for a federation that spent $6 million a year. There was a benefactor who wrote out a check. We're going to get two benefactors.
Yep.
Wrote out a check. We're going to get one of the best not international managers, one of the best managers in the world right now. Where if Manchester United needed a coach, he'd probably be on that short list. And yet, I'm left wanting more against Guatemala. I'm thinking to myself, is he going to pull the trigger and make a sub here? This team looks absolutely
Yeah. They're being ran.
gassed.
They're being
ran all over the field.
Yep.
And today, he does something we've not seen all tournament. He puts in Damian Downs in the 60th minute, takes out Luca De La Torre, and they go kind of a two-man up top with Ajiman and Downs. Have you been impressed, Casey, with what you've seen tactically under Mauricio Pochettino?
But it didn't change, because if I go with two big boys up front, and I think Janusz makes a brilliant point. This isn't 3 days to prepare for a match like a lot of international matches are. This is at the end of a 40-day camp. So this is where you've had time to work out and say, hey, we got a couple big boys up front. We're down a goal. We haven't had a lot of possession. Let's go route one and see if we can win some second balls in the final third and win some free kicks. Downs came on, and we're still trying to play, and it just didn't look like it was like anything different except for just a different player on the pitch.
Janusz, the way the U.S. men's national team could have hurt Mexico in this game is the way that the U.S. men's national team has historically been able to hurt Mexico in games. Set pieces, transitions, you defend. It's everybody behind the ball. When are we going to see something different with the U.S. men's national? When are we supposed to see that next level?
Well, the problem I have with Pochettino is, he hasn't delivered on what he promised of what we know about him as a manager, right? I mean, he's talked about it, the high press, right? We watched the high press, dysfunctional, right? I mean, the players,
always a free man. Always a free man
15, 20
available.
minutes
Yep.
left. But, today was a game, and there were moments where you could do it. If you look at history, forget who the coach of the national team was. And I'm not going to talk necessarily about the spirit, but you know how to beat Mexico. They're uncomfortable when you get very physical with them. I didn't see that today. In fact, I saw it the opposite way. It was Mexico doing this to us. Every game against Mexico that I remember, the 2-0 in our times, the Columbus games, whatever it was, as you know, they like to play in the rhythm. This is the nation that likes the combination play. We've talked about it. They're not necessarily players that will take you one-on-one everywhere. They will do that in wide areas, which, by the way, they did effectively.
But it was almost like an inside-out wide area. It was like a player would get wide, then there'd be an inside overlap that somebody didn't track with, and then play the ball through.
But for Pochettino, who likes to kind of project himself as that, the Argentine, we know how they play. We were missing that, to stop the game a little bit. The little fouls here and there to stop that momentum. We didn't have it, and we didn't have control almost at any point of this game. I mean, there was a little, maybe 2 minutes in the second half we noticed. But, I mean, usually when we talk about 15 or 20 minutes of control, that's usually not good enough.
Right.
Today, there was zero control over the course of this game, right? I mean, Mexico controlled this game from start to finish.
Yeah.
What we saw in the last 5 minutes.
Double-digit goals.
That was holding
that
on.
desperation,
That was just
that desperation we saw in 5 minutes. This is something that we usually show for longer periods of time.
Okay, so Herc, I'll go back to your point where you said, absorb some pressure and hit on the counter. Okay, let's go through some people, some pace that the U.S. national team always had, from Kobe Jones to Ernie Stewart to Landon to Bees to Josie, and then obviously you'd have like a Brian McBride able to flick stuff on and do things.
Charlie Davies, Robbie Finley has made a World Cup because of that.
Just even guys that, like you said, if you could absorb some pressure, get them frustrated looking for that winning goal, and then go route one, little combo through. I mean, we're talking about Cesar Montes with a yellow card. Did you ever put him under enough pressure after that to see if you could do that? Alvarez got a yellow card. You didn't put him under enough pressure.
What about a Patrick Ajiman who has taken a lot of heat in this Gold Cup? A player that is, in my eyes, so raw, but useful in certain settings because of his skill set. You talk about that ability to put center backs, defenders under attack. He is a handful. He's 6'4". He's very fast. He's physical.
I don't know if he's fast, Herc.
I think he's fast.
I don't think he's fast.
I think
I haven't seen him run away from anybody.
I think he's got some speed on him.
Okay.
What did you see from him in this tournament and his performance tonight?
Well, I think it's unfair to basically say you're our guy for this. You know, I know that Haji Wright had to pull out earlier in the camp. Really surprised that Josh Sargent wasn't part of this. Just to give him maybe that opportunity to break out of that national team funk that we can't quite figure out why it hasn't clicked for him. But was Brian White the answer off the bench? So he almost got stuck in a situation where there was nobody else. See, I really see Ajiman, if there is a continued development, at least at World Cup time, maybe being 10 minutes off the bench when you have to go do that route one and bang some bodies and do some stuff. I mean, for a few years, the pace of Jordan Morris was that guy off the bench when you needed to try to really, you need to have those little those little nuances that players have that are kind of uncoachable. And the size and the ability to kind of untangibles that he has, 100%, I give you that, but he's not ready to be thrown. It's not fair to him, and I think the fans have piled on because it's not fair to him.
He's not the first one that we have a go at here. That's for sure. He just got here. I mean, he's got 5 goals in how many? 10 games for the U.S. national team? I mean, 2 things can be true. One, is he ready for the next level for the World Cup and to be a starter? Of course not. He's got that 1 year. He's moving to Europe. I'm assuming that's going to help him. He's got to be stronger. I mean, he's a big man. I don't know if there's any other player on the national team that's been on the ground more than he is every game, right? I mean, there's some fouls, but he's on the ground a lot.
He likes to get physical.
And you know, can he help this team? Look, if I'm honest, chances are, we don't know who we're going to play in the World Cup, but probably some quality teams, we're going to be defending, right?
U.S. will be defending.
He needs space. He needs space. You know, when we, against Guatemala, Haiti, in those moments in time where we're playing against low block, you know, it's difficult for him because he doesn't have that football intelligence just yet, where to be at all times, where to run, when to stay.
Tight space technical ability.
Sometimes you have to stay away from it. He's too honest for me. Because sometimes as a striker, you have to stay away from the game. You don't have to be on the end of every ball. Sometimes you go a little bit left so people forget about you, right? Brian McBride, I mean, a perfect guy, right? I mean, he always knew, just waited till the time was right, the ball was wide, and he knew how to make the run. So those 2 things could be true. He's not ready yet, but certainly we had some experience. I mean, I look at Timmy Ream, not saying he was bad, but today on that first goal, he's got to do much better. We've seen that from him from time to time. Tyler Adams, a very experienced player. I didn't see him today in the game at all. Right. I didn't see him a lot of the games.
I'm still not sure he's 100%.
Of course, I was just going to say that. Give him time. He's proven over time that he can do that at the next level. But just my small point that Ajiman shouldn't be the first one that we have a go at.
No, and we're not.
I don't think anybody's
I think we're trying to defend.
Well, a lot of the fans. I'm speaking to fans more because I know
in favor of Patrick Ajiman's chances is that nobody's taken a hold of this position.
Correct.
Ricardo Pepi was the closest.
We'll see where his recovery does.
We're going to see where he is. Fowler and Balogun still hasn't showed up. I mean, he's had 1 goal, and it was against Panama in a Copa America, and that's the Fowler and Balogun moment. Everybody else is non-existent. So,
by the way, in this game, in the last game, we had no other choices. I mean, what we didn't have